Oop. Get off.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, and I can hear you. Okay.
George.
I thought I
Hi,
saw
everyone.
Susie.
I can hear you.
Okay.
This one.
All right.
Do we know if Molly Moss is going to make this one?
She cannot make it, unfortunately.
Mhm.
I didn't hear from Meredith, so I'm not sure she's joining. No, I did hear from her. She said she could do Tuesday, so I think Molly was the only one. Oh, here's
And
Meredith.
Haley.
So Molly can't join us. Haley's got the select board. If she can join, she will, but I had a chat with her today, so I have a couple of couple of bits updates or bits of information that I can share from her. All right. So I will call the FinCom to order at 6:31. So thanks for everyone for your flexibility. Apologies for yet another scheduling mix-up. You would think this many years into it, I would get this straight, but now I understand. So it's not just that the meeting has to be posted, but an agenda has to be posted.
Or at
Uh,
least a partial agenda, right? If you had a couple things on there, you'd probably been okay.
I think probably, yeah.
Because I think you can modify the agenda within the
Yes.
48-hour window.
Yeah. Although I think it's like some people interpret that even as I was looking into it is even being kind of strict. Like I think, I don't think you can just easily just like add a brand new item that's not referenced at all in the initial agenda. So even that's a little bit tricky. But yeah, certainly just having a TBD placeholder is not going to be sufficient. So anyway,
And do
now we
you,
know.
and do you have a clear idea of what day of the week that has to happen and give yourself extra time if there's a
Yeah,
holiday?
yeah. So it's going to be um, the Thursday, 6:30 in a normal week, and then if it's a holiday, um, then that would jump to Wednesday.
Okay, great.
So I think what I need to do because I had talked with Haley about doing and we had done it for the first meeting or two, doing like her and I doing a check-in on Friday so I can make sure if there's some agenda item that she has. But having just gone through this, I realize now that that can't happen on Friday. That's got to happen on Thursday at the latest. So I'll make sure that I have a quick, a brief chat with her on the Thursday before um, our scheduled meeting, just to make sure I have any items that she needs us to discuss. Okay, so let's dive in. I guess we can start with minutes. Uh, so
Fix
we've got
the error for meeting at the end in the attachments, like the exhibits.
I'm sorry, say that one more time, Laura.
I mean, I spelled meeting wrong in the
Oh,
exhibit
yeah.
summary. I
Okay.
fixed that.
And I had a question about that. Is the concept here that we're going to post those exhibits as part of the minutes, or what were your thoughts about that?
So, I mean, I mean, reading the Attorney General guidance things, and it just says we have to list the exhibits that we use during the meeting. They don't have to be posted on the site. However, somebody could request them. So
I see. Okay, so that's helpful. All right, so that's what that means. All right. Uh, okay. All right, so essentially, like any document that we review during the meeting needs to get listed at the end there, and then if somebody requests that, it can be shared, but it doesn't have to be shared automatically with the posted minutes. Okay, Susie.
I was thinking that something like the transfer list, which was extensive, if we attached it to our minutes,
Mhm.
I don't think they'd have to be listed as each minuted item. And that would be my preference because there's less to read through and is less takes up space on the minutes. Other people might have a different idea.
Well, last year when I was doing the minutes, I cut and paste. I would take a screenshot of the page that we have our signatures on, which has all the details. I mean, this is Laura's style. It's up to you, Laura. At the
I
end
mean,
of the
I just
day,
used Excel and like wrote out the sentences. That's what I did with that. But
yeah, and that's perfectly fine. That's
Yeah.
your business. I think, it's your prerogative. These are your minutes, but that's what I do. And it
Okay.
saves a whole lot of typing. I do it to save time, honestly.
Yeah.
I was impressed with what you did. I mean, it's great.
I just
It's
used I just used an Excel formula. So I mean, it wasn't.
yeah. Oh, so I had a couple edits. I mean, mostly what I had I got two really just minor nitpicky grammar edits. Just um on number two, FY26 end of year transfers, C, at the end of the sentence says when the library when live and so went live, I think you meant.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to I wanted to ask about the conditional approval, which is under 2E. But I suppose we can save that for later because we did vote on those two items conditionally, and I was wondering if AJ, you had anything on that, if you could tell us at some point.
I did not remember to ask Haley about any update on that. I'm assuming um
They got included.
yeah.
Well, whether we needed them or not, right? We did them conditionally, and I'm just wondering what really the real story was.
Yeah, let me flag that as a follow-up.
And then I wanted to make one substantive change in maybe it really depends on everybody. Long range planning number 4 in debt service, which is number 4 as well. I was wondering if we could change the second sentence. It says could restart capital stabilization, but I think when I suggested, I was thinking not necessarily restart it, although that would be nice, but at least fund it for that 1 year when we didn't have the debt service. So I would like to propose that we change it to could fund capital stabilization fund in FY28 if this doesn't
Okay,
um,
so
until this debt doesn't come in until FY29.
right. Okay. So your point from the meeting was just I'm gonna probably repeat what you just said, but just to make sure I'm understanding it, is that it remains a question as to when the borrowing will begin on the fire truck. If it happens in FY28, then and there's a debt service payment in our FY28 budget, the second sentence it becomes irrelevant. But if the borrowing doesn't begin until FY29, your thought is that we should consider um uh putting
Funding capital stabilization.
funding the
To
capital
the
state.
extent that we would have had that debt
Yeah.
on the fire truck. Yeah, that's my point. And also,
Yeah.
the word restart means that we would do it, we'd start doing it again and continue to do it in future years. And I don't think anything we see you out says we're going to be able to do that. So I just didn't want to set that expectation in the minutes.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. So maybe what we could do is just reword that sentence to make it explicit about this kind of contingency. So,
I had could
yeah, go ahead.
consider funding capital stabilization fund in FY 28 if this debt doesn't come until FY 29.
Correct. Yeah,
Perfect.
I think that's good.
And then just one minor thing in other updates, the second sentence, there are things missing the existing plan, I think, in the existing plan.
D, that's in D, yeah.
Yeah, it's under other updates. It's the very end.
Oh,
5D.
Oh, actually, it's 5D, yes.
Yeah.
It's just adding the word in, I
Yep.
think, after
Yep.
missing.
Got it.
These look great, Laura.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
I have, I'd like us to discuss whether we will, go to vote was unanimous versus listing each person's vote by name.
That is a requirement, like for the open meeting on an online meeting.
So you actually
Really?
have to put the roll call in. Yeah.
Am I going to jail?
Yeah, right.
Wow, Laura, you did your homework. That's awesome. Yeah, that seems like a lot of work. Jeez, you think?
Yeah.
No, I just made a template. I'm copying it, and then if there's a difference, then I will edit it. But
Right,
Right,
for the
simple
most
enough.
part, we're usually the same. So
right.
So even if it's a unanimous vote and there's a listing of at the top of which members are in attendance, that's still not sufficient. That's crazy. All right.
Lord.
Yeah.
if somebody else wants to read it and read that differently,
No,
I
I'm
mean,
sure you're
No,
right.
no.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's just crazy. Yeah. All right.
it's also what the select board is doing. So
Yeah.
I mean, even though they are meeting in person, so
I can tell you the Board of Assessors, Leslie Bracebridge, is doing essentially what you're doing too.
Okay.
She's very detail oriented. I always thought it was her, but it looks like it's a mistake.
All right.
Um,
Good to know.
I have a suggestion for, it's, section 2, E. So the reason those two items got included is because they were appropriate. And we spoke to Haley and she spoke, and I also spoke to Gail to find out if it was going to get included before the select board voted on it. And so it did. It's in the transfer. So I would suggest that we do have the final total of the transfers was 93,082.17. Because the other number is before that was added.
Oh, I see.
That's
So this number that I'm highlighting right now is before those last two.
right. So we do leave that number there because at that point in the
Yeah.
discussion, that was it. But at the final one,
Sure.
in E, we would
Yeah.
say this brings the total to 93,082.
Okay. So what I used to do when I did minutes was if there was some comment that was essentially an update to something that was spoken at, I would just bracket that. So I don't know if you want to do something like that, where you can basically bracket a note at the end of this section with that total.
Okay.
And
So Susie, you were able to confirm that those in your conversation with Gail that those did get included and that
Yeah.
and those funds have been transferred. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And then in the background for the Tigan bond, section 3, A, it wasn't because we were doing work on the new library that it was discovered. If that's what Haley said, that's erroneous. The discovery was made when the town agreed to allow UMass to do its project on testing private wells.
Okay.
And I don't know how that fit into the timeline about the library. I don't think it was at all tied to it. But I just I don't know if that's what the information that was said by Haley.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not about the new library.
Okay. So that's good. That's it, good information because I think I had always understood this to be the case too. So I was misunderstood.
I think it
So
can just drop the beginning of that sentence, just it was discovered.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's good.
yep, perfect. Um, let's see. 3AV, what is 3A5?
That's right here.
Okay. The sentence that says this is not a change from the prior contract. I don't I don't think we ever got a clear analysis of the previous contract compared to this piece because there's these charges. There's this incorporation of built-in 5 additional samplings. I don't know whether that was them projecting that that might happen and they wanted to have it in the contract because it does say this is the most it would be. But I don't believe the first contract had those kind of stipulations and we never did see a comparison. So I'm not sure we can say this is not a change from the prior contract.
Maybe we can just eliminate that second sentence in this item then,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
I
unnecessary.
think that would be a good idea.
since we're not sure that's the case. Yeah.
And I think in 3B, where the two I's are, I think we need to be clear that the new contract will be, from what I can understand, from January to December of 2027 or for 3 years. But what I think got very confusing to us is when are these contracts starting and stopping? Because they probably don't have to, they're probably not in sync with our fiscal year. So I just want somewhere it to say what is the term for what is the life, what do you call it? The life of the contract,
Yeah, the
terms of
contract
that
term.
life.
Okay. All right. While we're talking, did you happen to look at the 6-month proposal to see if if it specified dates or I can check that.
I have it somewhere here. Where is it?
I'll look it up while I have it
Okay.
somewhere handy here. Yeah.
I mean, did we have that information in the meeting? Like, I mean, I
I
can
don't know if
understand
I don't think we
but
discussed it, but I do see that the 6-month proposal, which was, a document that we
Mhm.
shared and discussed, says that semi-annual sampling will occur in October 2026. But there isn't like a sentence that says term, the term dates or anything like that. So I think you're right to assume that it's basically the first 6 months of the I think the fiscal year, but I can verify with.
And in this, where it says, in 2, that she's talked to other TAs who use a different vendor and there's a state approved vendor list that we can use to start the procurement process now for a 3-year contract that begins January 27, I believe, till what, December of 30? Somehow we need to bring up the specific information.
Yeah. So I spoke to Haley about this the contract, and I said that I was pretty sure that we were going to still have some outstanding questions that we were going to want answers to, and so I said that what we would do, and we've got an agenda item on this, a little bit later, but was we can draft a list of questions that we still have in terms of the proposal for,
So, I mean, I could say for this one, I mean, start the procurement process now for kind of a longer contract, because I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be
Yeah.
3 years.
right.
Or multi-year contract.
Multi-year.
Okay.
And their letter did say 27, 28, 29, the proposal finalized for fiscal year 27, 28, 29.
Yeah.
That this letter was only good till the end of 26.
Yeah, and so with that, because we have a different fiscal year as a contract year, I think we need to say January 27 till December of 29.
Where do you think that should go?
I think it might go in B, II. Somewhere, somewhere we're going to be identifying what that is, the procurement process now for
Or a
3-year
multi-year,
contract,
yeah,
starting January of FY 20, I mean, not FY, January 27 till December of 29.
my suggestion would be to indicate the start date, but not specify an end date, because you know, it's not a foregone conclusion, right? That it's a 3-year.
So I'll go with start the procurement process now for a multi-year contract starting in January 2027.
Yeah.
That would be my
Sounds good.
suggestion.
We can also ask the company, whoever gets it, to bill or do the contract per our calendar year, not the physical calendar year, to make it easier.
Once we have a contract, we can divide out the
Yeah.
cost per fiscal year. It's just that is why it was, that's why we're in a little bit of a tangle here, because nobody had the end date figured out relative to the contract and the fiscal year.
All right, any other suggestions on minutes? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the August 3rd minutes as amended.
Second,
All right. George?
overnight aside.
Cashew, aye.
Megan, I.
Was your eye?
Pastel, I.
Soito, I.
I think actually, Meredith, you have to oh no, you were there for half of it. Yep. Okay, sorry.
Oh, I didn't realize that. If I missed the whole meeting, I would have to
Yeah.
abstain from the voting in the next round.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the reviewing the minutes for.
Oh, well, that makes sense, of course.
Right, yeah.
Just sorry.
Sorry, it makes sense. It just
Yeah.
brain cells
no worries.
connecting is all.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay.
All right. Okay, next up. Well, maybe I'll jump around a little bit since we've been talking about the PFAS issue. Maybe we can draft some questions that we still have. So I think I shared an email response that Ty and Bond they responded to some questions that Haley posed, which came from our last meeting. So here's what I took away from this. One is we do now have at least some sense of a unit cost here for the testing service that's a part of this contract. And so my math says, we've got $500 a test. Although it says approximately, I'm not quite sure why they can't. Maybe there is some variation from one test to the other that it's not. They can't just nail down concrete cost, but in any event, $500 twice a year. I think there are 35 homes currently implicated. Does that sound right? Does anybody have better information or?
Ballpark.
I
Ballpark.
think the numbers on that contract are
Yeah,
confusing to me because they're including some contingencies. I believe it's contingencies. It's hard to figure that out.
Okay.
But it's true that they're going to be testing some of the houses that aren't in there as the circle expands or the range expands. So, I'd round that number up.
Yeah. All right.
But that's $35,000 is what you just
Yeah.
described.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like for me,
Later, it says the sampling will involve PFAS analysis of 77 samples
Ooh,
for the October event.
wow.
That's down under poet sampling. It's the last part of that
let's see.
paragraph on page, whatever we're on here, 1.
Of the email.
It's
Yeah.
in the contract.
Oh,
So
in the
when
contract.
You're
The
trying to come
document
up
we
with
looked
a
at last
number
time.
times 500, and
Mhm.
that's for one event of the year. Normally, we have 2 events each year, but that's for one. If we're only talking about this short piece of contract, it will be 500
si-
times 77.
Why-
Right,
why-
twice a year is $1,000 times 77.
So the 77, sorry, that represents the both sampling periods or just one sample?
Just October is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's just October.
Why is that number so
Seeing if you,
why does that not track with at least my understanding of how many homes are
Well,
involved?
one of the things in the email that we read was they're doing this phase 2 report in November.
Mhm.
And that's it's the first time they've done it in 4 years and the only time they're going to do it. So
Right.
that might have something to do with it. I mean,
But I guess I guess what I took from this is that there's a component of this contract which is about the costs of actually administering the tests of these poets, and then there are components of the contract that pertain to preparation of reports and other kinds of compliance work that are not specifically administering tests, right? So I get that second part maybe varies depending on requirements from 1 year to the next, or whatever. But I would love to just get my head around what the actual liability for the town is moving forward, at least for the testing component, and that sample number, Susie, that you're reading, feels significantly larger unless there are multiple samples per home. I don't know.
So when they come to my house, they take multiple vials, but I don't know if that counts as multiple tests. But my thought might be that they're testing not just the known houses, but proximate to the known houses to evaluate. But I don't know.
So in this paragraph in the contract called poet sampling, it says currently 14 2-vessel poets will require semi-annually. Everybody has to do it semi. Under this amendment, and the monitoring round will include a collection of stuff from each location, and we will also collect influent samples from 30 homes with single. So that sounds to me that the double poets would equal 28, poet 1 and poet 2, then 30 homes for single poets, then an additional up to 6 samples will be collected dependent on historic influent concentration. So now you're at 28, 30, and 6.
Okay, so
And
that
I'm not finished. There's more.
okay,
Sorry.
yeah, please go ahead.
Then influence sampling is performed at single vessel poet locations due to data. Yeah, we know that. And the boundary where it is. And then the last says This sampling will involve PFAS analysis of 77 samples for the October event. I don't come up with the number 77. So
Even
one of the
those numbers
things
don't add up, you're saying, yeah,
yeah, and I wanted this contract to be against what we used to have so that we knew we were receiving the same services, and I don't see how this works. So there's confusion there, and it can just be my confusion, but I need to understand this better. It doesn't make sense.
yeah. Okay.
But we just
So-
ask him to give us a list of properties and then at the end of it, the wild cards of the ones that might be around it. Because then we could, with a spreadsheet, we can just look at it and so we know who's in the pool.
Well,
Yeah, I think a labels is good.
all
This
right.
appears to be 13 houses off of 77,
Yeah.
or 13, not houses, 13 poets.
Oh, it's
Okay. Okay, so all right. So I guess there are a couple things we could ask for, and I think, I think to help make this more efficient, I'm gonna draft some questions while we're talking that I can just share with Haley. And she did also, by the way, suggest in my conversation with her that possibility that if we wanted to speak with somebody from Ty and Bond, that would be an option, to have them attend the meeting.
In the memo you forwarded to us today from Haley,
Yeah.
they mentioned two things without dollar amounts. One, they have a contingency.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know what that dollar amount is. And then two, the phase 2 comprehensive site assessment for November. That sounds like it sounds like a lot. Maybe it's not a big deal, but it sounds to me like that's got a lot of hours associated with it because it's a 4-year analysis. So it would be interesting to see what those $2 amounts are and how much closer they get us to that not to exceed number that's in the contract that the select board just signed.
Hey, I guess maybe I work in a different sector, so I'm not used to this, but like isn't it reasonable for us to just ask for a budget justification that actually spells out like how they arrived at this total cost?
Sure.
Like, for a table that
That
breaks it
aligns
down?
with my experience of
Yeah.
reasonable requests.
Yeah, it's
All right.
definitely reasonable.
And when I bid jobs, it was the same thing. It's like, if you sent your bid out to 4 manufacturers, it was apples to apples. It wasn't apples and oranges, and we could digest it. And if we do this now, we'll be prepared more for when
Right.
Haley does the second phase of getting the 3-year contract.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest this. In my list of questions, it's can we receive a budget justification that breaks down or breaks out the total-
Individual
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah,
Components.
That itemizes the total in your contract
yeah, that itemizes
by the categories.
the contract total. Okay,
and
and
this-
and ask for that for the last contract as well, Susie. That it sounded like
Well,
you were.
Right. I would
Hang
have
on to it.
I would have thought our town administrator would be trying to do this.
Yeah.
Would be looking, and I emailed a request to have a comparison because this 6-month one definitely has some one-off accounts or costs, including stuff that happened in May.
Right.
So clearly, but that could be in an itemized bill. So I think they should do that work. And then I think our town administrator would compare the services this contract is giving us versus other companies. But maybe that's not for this 6-month one. It's for the long-term thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Are they going to have to go to bid?
Yes.
They,
every year?
Yeah.
they have to because it's a
Yeah.
big
And I
cost.
think, Haley, I think that was her. I mean, that was one of the I think the reasons why she wanted to see this 6-month short-term contract and as you know, or requested it was that she felt like this required a more rigorous procurement process. It's a significant amount of money. So I think that's certainly her expectation. Okay, so we're gonna request a budget justification that itemizes contract total for this 6-month contract that's on the table, as well as the previous contract, so that we can compare apples to apples. And do we also want to ask for a list of homes that are currently on the testing schedule? Is that?
I think that's part of that's the itemized list.
Yeah, I guess.
It's $500 per, Levitt Road, 59 Levitt Road. So that's the itemized list. It will give a concrete answer that they don't have any extras in there, or they didn't miss it.
I think we should be explicit and ask for, a list of homes, because I think if we just ask for a budget justification that itemizes the contract total, I could see them sending us something back that says, 75 homes at $500 a test times 2 tests. You know what I mean? That wouldn't actually give us the list. So if we want a list of addresses, then I think we should ask for it explicitly. So
I agree. I
Agree.
think that's important.
all right, so I'm going to ask for that.
And-
Can we
And
receive
this is, I feel like I'm still in a time warp. From what I read at the select board meeting that followed us the next night, they
Uh-huh.
approved this contract.
They did.
This is a done deal.
Yeah.
This 6-month one. So we could ask for sort of a retro understanding of that. But what we also need to know is if there's going to be proposals from different companies, we need to have this language
Yeah.
to compare and understand any bid.
I mean, that's Susie, that's my primary interest in asking these questions, is not so much about making a decision, which sounds like it may have already been made, about this 6-month contract. It's to help us plan for what we now, certainly by now, we understand it's just going to be an ongoing component of our budget, and we need to have a better understanding than we do about how to plan for kind of what tasks need to be completed by an external contractor, whether it's Time Bond or some other competitor.
And if the poets and themselves are going to be going up in the next 3 years because of tariffs or whatever it is, we've
Right.
got to cover that too.
Okay.
And why are we asking them for previous contract?
So I think I don't know, Susie. You made a specific point, but I took that to mean that part of what came up in our last discussion about this was why, how does this seemed like it may that there may have been some ballooning of our PFAS costs here relative to what we have been spending in previous last couple of years, and we wanted to have a better understanding of if that was the case and why. Is that
Yes,
fair?
because the previous contract covered 4 times a year testing.
Right?
This one is 2 times a year. So
Yeah.
so we just need an explanation of what this one includes. And the previous one was the DEP services and requirements. That's how Tighe & Bond wrote it up. This is what the DEP said you needed. Now we need to make sure that those requirements are identified so that whatever contracts we're in are meeting those things and not based on just past history, because history changed.
Right. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a scheduled call with Haley tomorrow, so I'm going to share this list of questions and requests and for her. And should I ask her to see if we can if we can meet with a representative of Ty and Bond, should I just go ahead and request that at this point, or do we want to see their responses to these questions first? Or
I think I like the idea of meeting with them, but not to talk about the contract that we've already signed. I think when the bids come out for the multi-year, I think that's when we want to pepper them with questions.
yeah,
But I think the town administrator's role is to look at
Yeah.
contracts, figure out services, figure out what she puts out for the RFP or whatever that's called. It's not our job.
right.
I just have a question is, did the town have enough information to make a good decision? And do they have enough information to make a future decision? And that to me is the town administrator's job. I know Brennan knows a lot about this because he's been the arm that does sending out the letters, etc. But I really feel it's important that we don't end up doing tasks
Yeah.
that really aren't ours.
Yeah, I get that, and I agree with you. I think here's how I see our job. So it's not to manage the procurement process for the next PFAS contract, but what it is. But I do think part of what our responsibility is to have an understanding and incorporate in our long-term budget plan what our PFAS mitigation responsibility is going to be. And so, like, we're going to discuss this long range plan in a few minutes. And, one question I have is, do we need a PFAS, testing and reporting item in that plan? And if so, what amount, or like, what's our responsibility going to be, on an annual basis? And so right now it feels like we don't really have a great understanding of what the annual cost moving forward is going to be for managing this.
Can I,
Okay.
Susie, ask one quick question, Susie? Are
Please
you
go ahead. Right. Go ahead.
basically saying that it's the town administrator's responsibility to go over the three bids and present the finance committee with the final solution, or that we get to see the three bids and she recommends to the finance committee and the select board the final bid?
We have never looked at separate bids. That's the town administrator's job.
Okay.
And we have also not specified what needs to be in the bid. That's the town administrator's job to have figured that out. And in order to do that, knowing what the DEP is actually requiring is important. And then she can use information from the past, but it has to be modified for what the current situation is, which is only 2 times a year and more houses and maybe more doubles, whatever. She needs to be fully versed in that. And I really don't feel it's our purview to be trying to dig out those details. So in the past, information did not include the different bids, but we had a sense that the TA knew what had to be in the requirements of the contract. And this is a big one to unpack. And so we need to know that it got unpacked, and that the number we're looking at will be actually good at covering all the costs.
But the reality is there's going to be a bid process, and the decision of which contract to go with is going to be based on state law. And so at the end of the day, we're just going to be told what the cost is. We don't get involved in contract negotiations or bid processing. We never do. We're told what things cost.
Right.
So I just don't know how deep in the weeds we want to get here. Susie, if you're not confident in the town administrators, what she's doing, you need to talk to the select board about that. They're the ones who manage her, and they're the ones who are working with her, and they're certainly making demands on her, I hope, just like you are.
I guess I feel like this is a new enough person in this position. And this was a big ball of wax that I maybe need to hear from her that she is focused and understood. But when we looked at that contract that Tig Bond sent, that's already been accepted, it's not clear to me that all the pieces are accurately represented. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, her job to find out. And she can do it by looking at past or something. But I feel like if we can see some confusion, or if we don't understand, maybe she can clear it up. Maybe we'll be perfectly understanding after an explanation. But I would say that that contract was not clear. That's why we're drafting a list of questions.
Yeah.
And in all of this, what's not clear to me is how we're going to fund this in the long run.
Right.
We haven't even addressed that. We haven't talked to Gail. What's the balance in the fund? How are we going to build this in the budget? That's where I think our work is going to be.
Right. And we did ask in the last meeting to clarify that funding. And I don't know if that's been done because we can see that one line on the report on page 12, and we don't know what it's supposed to include. And we're not necessarily, we know that we want to make sure that there's enough funding. I would say we're very clearly underfunded for FY27 because this new contract starts in January and runs to December, and we have to understand what's supposed to be built in. And 95,000 probably isn't going to cover it since just half the year is 62 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the number I heard was that we have 92,000. Is that
Okay.
just see something real quick. Sure, I got that right. Yeah. At least that was Haley's understanding, is that we've got 92K appropriated and available in FY27 for PFAS. And so one of my questions for her was about whether there were any warrant articles under consideration for a special town meeting, and she raised that as a possible question for us, like if we felt like 92K was not going to be sufficient, do we want to actually make an appropriation at a special town meeting?
So that 92K, that's not in the budget. That's in the fund from the loans.
Correct. Yes. That's I haven't had a chance to verify that, but that was her understanding.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And so if we end up with a special town meeting, the putting out to bid and getting a contract number for FY27 won't be finalized. So we'll have to ballpark
Right.
a number. And if we have 92 now and 63 just got committed by the select board, that leaves us 29. So we would be probably looking at something around out of 100,000. Oh, not that number.
Yeah.
21, 30. 71.
Yeah.
61.
So, but here's,
61.
I mean, this is part of this is part of the reason why I would like to have answers to those questions, right? Because if we knew that all of the sort of compliance stuff that is separate and apart from testing was actually going to be covered in this 6-month interim contract, then maybe our expense for January, through June is strictly testing, for example, in which case, we could actually do probably a pretty good job of estimating what additional funds are needed. But if there are other kinds of costs and other kinds of tasks that need to be completed in that period, then we don't really know. So yeah, this is part of the reason why I get the point that, like, we don't want to be putting ourselves in the position where we're sort of like managing this procurement process, but I think to be able to sort of budget for these expenses, it would be important for us to, I think, have more information than we have right now.
Or we make sure she has the information and she can tell us.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't feel like it's really a good use of our time to grill her, but
No.
somehow there needs to be a setup. And so even when I did that math, I'm looking at 100,000. 100,000 is not the rest of FY 27. It stops in June 30.
Yeah.
So figuring out how to make these budgets work for those numbers is the trick.
Right. Laura.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we need to account for, I mean, this is the contract for the compliance aspect. I mean, there's also the pieces that are not included in the quote. So the laboratory testing and those types of pieces and what costs we're incurring there.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on PFAS? We definitely got some outstanding questions. Hopefully we will.
Well, there's some urgency. The only thing I'm gonna say is there is some urgency to
Yeah.
these questions because the special town meeting, the
Yeah.
warrant articles are gonna have to be written up
Right.
soon.
Yeah. Yep.
Would it be best for us, because we did a lot of line item transfer. Well, I don't know how much we did compared to other years line item transfers. When we're talking about long-term PFAS, always have a buffer account to take up the excess that we ask, go to town meeting and say, put $50,000 in an account that anything above and beyond what the contract and what we were budgeted for will take care of it.
Yeah.
In the long-term tool, we talked about having a 1%, or was it 1%
Yeah.
contingency number because we have no idea left field, right field where things are coming from. And in all of this discussion, I'm watching what's happening for firemen and their equipment and the PFAS presence in that and what that will look like. So it's not even limited to this piece. But yeah, I think we're hoping to make a operating line that will be not down to the dollar, but a ballpark. And so that can be part of where it's built in, and anything that's not spent returns to free cash. And we also have our contingency percent, and we need good information coming to us all year round so we can continue to build for these things.
Yeah, for FY 27, Frank, we would need to have, we want to fund the PFAS line to the extent that we don't have $92,000 of spending. And so, and then if that turns out to be, so we go to special town meeting, we ask for that amount. Let's say we need another 72,000. We ask for 72,000. It goes in an operating line that the accountant can then charge because we funded it. And if we come up short, well, if we end up spending less than 72, as Susie said, it goes into free cash at the end of the year. If we spend more, we can make a transfer for the FinCom reserve. So that's where the reserve is for accounts that don't have enough money. But if we're having a vote for PFAS, for spending on PFAS, then we need to add that dollar amount to the PFAS line because that's where the accountant, when she goes to pay that bill, she needs an expense line to charge against.
Right. But isn't it correct to say that we don't actually have a PFAS expense line in our budget? What we have is
I thought we did.
We have a debt service.
No, but I think we do have one, and even if we don't, she'll create one.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because if we're spending money on such a thing, then she's gonna have to have an account for it. Let me take a quick look at the budget. I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a PFAS loan line under debt service, but
Oh, I'm in revenue. No wonder.
I don't.
Hold on one second. I'm almost there.
Maybe it's labeled something else. I was trying to figure this out earlier.
Yeah, you're right. Just the loan. And so, yeah, so she probably would have to create a line, or we could use the water quality. I don't know.
So I guess so. One of the things I think, however many years into this we are right now, I think we are at a point where we should actually have a line in our operating budget for
Yes.
PFAS related testing and reporting. And we should fund that line every year, but at you know, a reasonable, as yeah,
I mean,
estimate as to kind of what our responsibility is going to be.
we should have had information about that when we were doing the budget. I mean, I find it very frustrating because we've been talking about PFAS and funding PFAS for years, and we never really got a handle on this thing. And now we're finally using up the money we have,
Right.
and we've made no contingency in the budget for it at all.
Right.
Right. And so on line 173 in the budget, it was called PFAS mitigation, and it got zeroed out. And then we had up above that fire station mitigation and fire station temporary solution. Temporary solution got zeroed out, and fire station mitigation is at 5,000.
Not only zeroed out, but we deleted those lines.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm looking at the budget
What
for
is
FY
this?
20.
Oh, yeah, this is in February. Sorry.
Yeah, if you're looking at the FY 27 budget, there's no line for PFAS outside of the debt service.
Okay. Sorry.
And
I
we
had the
used to
wrong-
have a line for it. I thought we still did, but now I'm realizing we ixnayed it for some reason.
So here's what I think we need to do. I think we need to use some of this information that we're requesting from Ty and Bond to make a kind of reasonable calculation of what our annual total PFAS expense is going to be. And that we have to have an understanding of kind of the components of that cost, but that we need to actually add a line in our budget in our long range planning tool that actually approximates what that annual expense is going to be. Because it made sense maybe the first year, the second year where we didn't quite know what this was, how long we were going to be dealing with this. At this point, we know that this is just going to be an ongoing cost to the town. It's a responsibility that's not going away. So there's no reason why, and it's a significant cost. And so there's no reason why it shouldn't be part of our annual appropriation, right?
Yeah, I think we were hoping that the state was going to help us, and they're not.
Yeah.
Although the
And
irony is we're going to get $50,000 from the MWRA. That's probably what we're going to need to get through this fiscal year
Right.
for PFAS.
Right. One of the things in the final budget expense sheet on line, just had it. It says, it's down on line 174. In the notes, it says PFAS mitigation funded with cash reserves. So now I can't remember if we did put any cash reserves in the FY 27 budget for PFAS. Can't find my revenue sheet, so I can't see it there.
Why would we put anything in cash reserves? I'll take a look, but I
No,
can't imagine that
We
did.
we did not.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
No, we didn't. I'm looking at the CapEx.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, here it is.
We did elementary school. We did veterans benefits. We did health insurance, OPEB, library expenses, elementary transportation.
Okay.
Yeah, and all the warrant articles on town floor, none of those were for PFAS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Highway truck
So-
and,
Yeah.
things like
So
that.
I think part of our journey was that we saw there was still money in that expending line on the expense report. And
Yeah.
So
Here's my understanding of how we got here is that we had in the early years of this, we had been treating this as like a capital project where we have been either, borrowing through these PFAS loans, which at one point we thought we might get some reimbursement for. That didn't work out.
Or 0%.
Oh, right. And I think we did, at least I can't recall now, but I do have a vague recollection that we did allocate free cash reserves in 1 year for this. So we've been like dealing with this as if it's a capital item, right? And we've been kind of using our usual kind of capital funding toolbox to deal with this. That no longer makes sense because this is an ongoing responsibility expense. And so, yeah, I think it's clear that we need to have an item in our budget, our operating budget for this, and we need to have a good justification for what that allocation needs to be on an annual basis.
And we'll come to special town meeting to finish out the cost in FY27 that has to get established, not only in terms of what we're spending now, the 63, but in terms of what it looks like the bids will be
Yeah.
for January to July 1.
Right.
Yeah, and it would be great, like Frank said, to put it on a fiscal year basis, but whatever we do, we just have to understand which part of the year we're doing.
Okay, I'm gonna move us on because I know we've been chatting for about PFAS for a while. We got some other things, but I think we're making progress towards getting a better handle on this. Okay. Let's see what I want to. Okay, so I'm gonna just quickly dispense with this special town meeting item. So I asked Haley about whether she or the select board had any discussions about warrant articles. It sounds like it's just very early in the process, and she didn't have a lot to report on this, other than she believes there will be some like of those prior year bills that will need to be addressed. She asked if or sort of earmarked this PFAS issue as potentially one that we might want to ask for additional funds for. Frank, she mentioned that the building committee is talking about hiring an engineer to look at the salt shed at the highway barn. I think she got some message from Jeff Quackenbush about this. Do you know anything about this? Is there anything?
Yeah, because Dave asked for a new salt shed because the 18-wheel trucks that we get now, instead of the shorter dump trucks, can't go totally up and back in and dump it. And so we looked up, I did a quick Google search, and they're between, $350,000 and $600,000. Orange just put one in, big hoop thing, and that's a big expense. I said, well, I thought we'd look into just hiring a engineer to see how much it would cost to lift it the other 4 feet it needs to be and put the foundation,
I see.
So that was the thing. Instead of spending $400,000 on a new salt shed, because the truck cannot go into the salt shed, the new 18-wheel trucks. In the past, when they bought it, they had the shorter ones. Now they get the big long ones, and it can't lift all the way up and dump it in there. So I think it was 4 feet is what I remember. If we can just to get an engineer to say, how much is this going to cost? And Jeff could talk to some engineers. We'll talk about that in my meeting tomorrow night. It might be cheaper to spend, $10,000 on an engineer to find out it's going to be a $50,000 or $80,000 or $100,000 project rather than a $400,000 project.
That makes sense. Do you know if, in terms of the timing of this, is this something that has to be addressed? Like,
I think it was just on Dave's bucket list. I didn't, the sense of urgency. What they do now is they dump it in front and they push it. Exactly. So it is being done, but in an ideal world, it'd be nice to have it in the barn. So,
yeah. Okay, got it. All right. So it sounds like you're meeting with them tomorrow. If you could, I'm sure this was part of the plan anyway, but if you could get some clarity on whether they were interested in this being something that gets taken up at a special town meeting in October versus something we end up dealing with at annual town meeting in the spring, which would put it on a timeline.
That's going to delay it a long time.
FY28.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
And
that was really it from Haley. So she wasn't aware of, but she did say like there may be other things. It's just that those conversations haven't really started yet. Susie.
We need the special stabilization item on there. I'll send it to her. That's the one the school already voted, and we talked about it coming up at this special town meeting.
Yeah.
And so part of the town administrator's job is to be soliciting so that she gathers them in. And so I can send this in to her because I already know that the school had approved it, and I think we approved it, and it
Yeah.
needs to go on this STM. But I don't know if any of any others. I mean, now we know we're thinking something for PFAS.
Right. Can I ask you just to clarify so the article that would need to be voted on at special town meeting is simply an authorization that allows us to have this fund. It's not,
Yep.
it's not actually
Not a funding.
needed to fund at this point.
Right.
Okay, got it. George.
Yeah, and what is the thinking about funding it?
So one of the things that was happening is money was coming in late in the year, like in this particular year. I believe from an email that Caitlin sent in, it could be that 23,000 was the part the governor had cut out of 26 and she restored it. But she restored it like the second week of June.
Hmm.
So those kind of monies the school has the control over the rural aid, but that particular bunch can go into this account, and we would, talk to her about it, how we could do that. She sent a notice today saying, oh, good news. The rural aid was notified for FY27. They got notified right now. They used to notify us in
Right.
November. So, wow. Well, of course, it's written right into the governor's budget. They should have given us the number. So now we know FY27, the school counted on 60,000 because that was the cut amount that we had. And now they can count 83,000. So she said in her email, that's good. We have had a few unexpected expenses for FY27. So I feel that we have a good relationship with the school administration and the financial director. So if we want to make some suggestions, we should do that. I do know that they will be negotiating the teacher contract. One aspect of rural aid is, can you count on it? Can you go ahead and build your operating budget, including your teacher contracts, on that money? I don't think that answer's in yet, but she is glad to know next year's funding is 23,000 more than they expected.
So
Yeah.
one suggestion I could see us making, Susie, is, and again, I totally get that it's entirely their discretion to deal with these rural aid funds how they think it's appropriate. But I think one reasonable recommendation is their budget actually makes, as you mentioned, makes an assumption about, and it's usually a conservative assumption about how much rural aid they're anticipating. And so they actually build that into their budget.
Yep.
I could see us making a recommendation that whatever the excess rural aid that's actually received, the additional excess above that amount, if either 100% or some portion of that be, used to fund this special education.
Yeah. And there is a limit to what can go into it. And I was just trying to figure that out. It's some percentage of your total budget. You cannot put more than X amount
I see.
in that would exceed a percentage of your regular budget. And I don't have my
1% of their budget is 240,000. So
yeah.
200, so I think we're pretty much okay with that. Yeah. The other thing I would think is, we don't need to talk about this now, but it's certainly the school choice money that we get might be able to help. Did Haley say when they think that special town meeting will be?
I have not heard a specific date. Yeah.
That was my other question.
Yeah. I assumed October, but I think, I don't know where I got that idea.
Well, the reason I say that is because the longer out it is, the more likely we will know the certified free cash.
Yeah.
And certainly if we decide to use free cash, say for the engineer, for the highway shed, it's just helpful to know where we're at.
Yeah. Susie.
And that timing last year had to do with it was before the tax rate was set, so we were able to change the tax impact of our budget. If we're talking about we don't have enough money in the PFAS for for FY27, I hope we don't have to change the tax impact.
No, as long as there's coordination with the Board of Assessors and the head assessor, he'll be able to delay his calculations by a few weeks. He's gung ho. He's really good. He's probably going to be ahead of where we've been in other years. But if he knows, he's flexible. He's definitely he'll be able to deal with that. I mean, he has to do a lot of things to calculate the tax rate. The budget is in there, but it's just a number and a formula. So
Yeah.
I'm not downplaying what they do, but he can manage that as long as there's communication
Yeah.
and he's aware of what's going on.
And
So-
and things like the Quabbin money, as you
Yeah.
said, might remediate what we need to cover this. And we just don't have all the pieces in front of us right now. So
Yeah, that's definitely going to be revenue that we did not use to fund our budget that he is going to use. He's going to have that in the cherry sheet or wherever he gets it. And that was a pickup for us, although it sounds like we got something upset at.
Yeah, so I've been assuming that if we have a warrant article at special town meeting that asks for additional PFAS funding, that it can be funded from free cash, and we can provide a justification that, we have this amount of free cash being returned to the budget because of underspent items and this unanticipated source of state funding for the Quabbin. And so we can justify it that way, and then it has no impact on the tax.
That's true, but we also have to consider that this is going into our budget, and one of our policies has been to ease costs in. So I'm wondering if we're going to want to do 50-50,
Yeah.
something like that. 50 cash and then 50 in the expense lines of the budget. And then next year the other 50 comes in or something, or it's some
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, to sort of build it, because it is an ongoing cost. It's not a one-time thing, and to build some
build some of it into the budget now.
precedent for that. Okay, yeah. Anyway, we'll have time to sort that out, but first thing we need to know is what the actual amount is that we're going to need. Okay. I think that covers at least our current information about special town meeting items that might have budget implications.
one thing I want to, sorry,
No, please, go
tonight's the
ahead.
night, huh? One thing I want to say is that the salt shed would have gone in front of the capital plan,
Yeah.
and it didn't. And I understand it's really hard for these departments to really anticipate everything. But if we could put it off, then it gets to go through the process it should have, which is it's a proposal to cap plan, and they review it and they suggest it, and we meet it in the FY28 budget.
Yeah.
An important
Yeah,
point.
and maybe that's, Frank, that might be the way to present this at your meeting tomorrow night, is that I think if the idea is not to go through the normal capital planning process for this,
Mhm.
I think there needs to be some explanation and justification for that, because this would normally be, an item that goes through this two-stage process where the capital planning committee hears from the building committee or the highway department, whoever's going to be the sponsor for this, what the cost is, what's needed. You've done a good job of explaining that this may actually, save the town a significant amount of money. So I'm sure that there'll be a smooth process, but that would be the normal process. So, and then then FinCom would discuss how to fund it, and then it would be a warrant article, and town residents would vote on it at annual town meeting. So if we're not going to use that process,
Right.
we need
The
to
thing is,
understand.
this was a surprise to me last meeting. I heard the
Yeah.
salt had come up and I hadn't talked about it anymore, other than I proposed to Dave
yeah,
what the figures were, and then
Right.
left. That's his job, not mine, to
Of
go
course.
forward with that. So, yep,
Yeah.
I'll present it to the committee that way. That has to go through A, B, and C, and that's the
Yeah.
way.
It's not urgent.
Right.
No, and it's not urgent. No,
Yeah. Okay.
we'll get to the oil in a few meetings. The oil tank at the school.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So we've got a couple more items. And one is the budget request letter and timeline. Let's talk about that now, actually. So a couple things on this before we actually discuss the contents. I talked with, I had a quick conversation with Haley about this, or during my conversation, and she mentioned, and this I think tracks well with something we have talked about several months ago, which was that somebody from the select board had suggested a joint meeting of FinCom capital planning and the select board to talk about sort of budget process and timing. And I had some understanding that we had talked, like I think back in maybe May or June, I can't remember when, about this idea of us actually pulling the three groups together early in the budget planning process. And so I think what I wanted to do was to just see if there was interest in that among our group. And then if there is, I'll follow up with Haley to see, kind of how she wants to go about scheduling that.
What would be the purpose of that? I mean, we have a lot of stuff we're dealing with.
I think the purpose of it would be an opportunity for us to share our long range planning tool, talk a little bit about how we're using it, hear from capital planning potentially about kind of what their progress is on the long-term capital plan. We all know that there's been work on updating that. And I think it's to just kind of set some expectations about kind of both the process and the context for what we think is going to be another tricky year. I think it's that, and I just think I don't think I was the only one who sort of had this takeaway from last year, but just this sense that like there could be more coordination around around the budget with not to say that we're not responsible for it, but like that there could be more kind of a more collaborative process with the select board and with capital planning and FinCom. I don't know, that would be my rationale for doing it. Susie.
I have another view. One of it is we have the liaison to the capital planning, and they can represent how things are going and what they know. And then I do feel that when we went to the select board last year, there was a sense that they didn't know what we were doing and weren't and felt anxious because these are anxious times. But I do think part of that is that the town administrator attends our meetings and then is a liaison to the select board. And I don't think that happened enough last year.
Right.
I mean, these people on the select board, two of them have been on the finance committee, so they should have sort of an innate trust, but not in the bigger picture of how the budgets are going squirrely. But we do have a draft, and we do have a TA who watches what we do and can represent it to the select board. And we have the fiscal summit meetings, which I assume we're going to do that again. And so at that, we present what we know and we figured out, and we present what we hear is going to come in, and the select board attended that last year. I think the second meeting didn't have as much participation from the attendees, and we might want to make sure we have that so that they can ask their questions and stuff. But because we're going to present to the whole group, and because we have a liaison with the town administrator, and we have liaisons to the cap plan, I think we can not have yet another meeting. But it does, like you say, if we do have a meeting, it might generate a sense of collaboration. But maybe they could just generate that and say, yeah, these people are doing
Well,
their job.
okay. I mean, I think just a couple of thoughts. George, I see your hand up, but just
That's
a
right.
couple of things in response. So one is I may be wrong about this, but my sense is not that there's a sort of mistrust on the part of the select board, but I do think that I think they sort of at least this is the impression I got, they internally, and granted, there's a little bit of a different composition now, but they had a sense that like all of a sudden, like the budget issues sort of like emerged in February and beyond, and I think they felt like maybe that they hadn't fulfilled their responsibility as a select board to have a kind of, I don't know, to be sort of thinking about and talking about the budget along with us. I don't know, that's my sense, is that that they may feel like like that they have a responsibility to be more involved in the budget process. So what I can say is I can share kind of what you guys have said about maybe that we are planning on doing our fiscal summits. That may be a sufficient opportunity to encourage collaboration and sharing of information across these different departments. It may be the case that we still have to do this meeting, not because we're asking for it, but for the select that the select board is asking for it. In which case that's fine. We'll
That's what I was essentially going to say is with Frank and me, you guys are going to be up to date. If I don't, and I want to mention Haley has attended capital planning meetings, and I think, Ellen's trying to get her to go to all of those. So the select board does have a connection there. But if the select board is apprehensive or uncomfortable or wants to set the expectation, and that's fine. But I don't think the finance committee should be pushing for that because we have two representatives and we can definitely keep you informed. That committee doesn't do a tremendous amount until we start getting requests.
Yeah.
Obviously, the building of the plan, the long range plan is critical, but that's in process and that's going to take a couple more months.
Yeah. And that's actually like, for me, that is like, I was spending some time with the long range planning tool. And, for me, that was like, that's one of the big sort of outstanding tasks is like, there's no way for us to build in future anticipated capital costs into that plan right now. So like, I'm sort of torn between like, the plan, the tool is enormously helpful already for me. But and I have this caveat, which is that there's nothing in there that builds in any future capital items that are not
for the long range plan, we can make assumptions that we're going to be borrowing.
Yeah.
And we can put in some borrowing amounts for fiscal 29, 20, 30, and 31, 32.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the exact number, but even with the capital plan, that's not exact either.
Yeah. But maybe that is a good, so and we're going to get to that in a minute, like hear what people's suggestions are. But that might be a something that we can talk about potentially building into it, is to make some, however crude, assumption about additional borrowing
Yeah, because
pertaining to future unknown capital items, something
because
like that.
if that debt doesn't come to fruition and we put that number in there, then probably what would happen is we would fund capital stabilization to some extent.
Yeah,
And
right.
so the reality is there is money that we have to put in there for debt service or capital stabilization. Either or, it's going to be an expenditure in the budget.
That
And the
makes
other thing is, I did build a tool that is long-range planning for capital planning. It's how we're going to calculate, really, and also what it is calculating what our reserves are over the course of 5 years. And at some point, we can look at that too, AJ. I sent it to you
Yeah.
about a month ago. I can show everybody just what it would look like and what the layout is, but without that capital plan,
Yeah.
yes, we really can't make any assumptions beyond what we've already approved in FY26 for FY27.
So I know, like, it's helpful to know a little bit about, like, have a rough sense of timing. It sounds like you're thinking maybe a couple of months. We might be a good time for us to. We might be ready to look
It's
at the
moving
plan.
like molasses. That's
Okay.
all I can tell you. Yeah.
All right.
And we still need to meet with department heads, getting information. I'm going to have to see what Nate has from the elementary school. I've got a good information from the highway department, but it's not complete. It's a lot more complete. So we're getting there.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
maybe we'll get to a point where we can say it's 90% done. Let's start plugging these numbers into our models.
Yeah. So here's what I would request is if we anticipate sharing information from our long range planning tool at the fiscal summit, let's say that happens in November or something like that, October, November, I don't know. I would like that tool to have some additional component or assumptions around additional borrowing for future capital items, whether those are tied to an actual updated capital plan or they are some kind of crude estimate of additional borrowing. I think we should have something in that, assuming we're going to share some information from that, about those future years at our fiscal summit, if that seems reasonable.
Agreed. We can talk about that when we look at the long range plan.
Okay. All right.
This started with talking about the budget letter, which
Yeah.
we know we're not going to draft it now, but I would
Yeah.
like to sort of work out the timeline backwards. And in that, figuring out that timeline, we might figure out how the fiscal summit
Yep.
figures in.
Okay, that's good. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share. Why do I have that share? Okay, I'm going to share the schedule from last year, just so we have some sense of kind of how this unfolded last year. All right, so this is what we did last year. We had our first department head meeting in December 2nd, on December 2nd. Our letter let's see, had a December 1st deadline for their proposed budgets. Is there any reason for us to ask for or expect a different deadline for proposed budgets this year? Or does that sound like December 1st? Does that sound like the right timing again? Is there
Well,
any need to start earlier?
we got back. We ended up being farther back.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when we sent them that letter.
Let's see if it's dated.
Well, we usually try to get it out before the end of September, beginning of October, right?
I
And give them till
Yes.
the end of October to submit their budgets.
Yeah, the
That's
letter
what
is
I
not
have.
dated, so I can't recall exactly.
I know, I
What
love
it-
those little pieces.
I can't recall exactly when it went out, but it definitely had a December 1st deadline for them to respond. But
Yeah.
I think, I see no reason why we can't have this thing ready and out, in beginning of October. I mean, think.
Let's try to remember how we tied our fiscal summit to the letter, because I think we wanted to give people some idea of what was going on, and I'm trying
I
to
think
come
our
back.
I think our fiscal summit was, mid-budget season, because basically we told everybody how the budget was starting to shape up. I don't know if that's really the tact we want to take or not, but I think that's what we did.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just look at my info. So we did.
I received November 5th, the letter. All the committees received it on November 5th.
That was late for us.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can do early October.
Yeah, we want to do better than that. I think last year, the special town meeting kind of
Yes, it did.
knocked us off our schedule.
Yeah, because we were plugging holes in a budget and proposing a new tax rate and rewriting our report. Hopefully, we don't do that this year. So
We're freaking out about health insurance.
the fiscal summit was October 7th. And then we had our regular meeting on Tuesday, the 12th, to discuss the directions for the letter and the use of cash reserves. So, yeah. I think what we should do is decide whether talking in a fiscal summit is important before we get the letter out, or get the letter out, figure out what we want in the letter, get it out, and then fit the fiscal summit in to sort of follow up, maybe before we ask them to have their budget turned in.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my suggestion, that if we're going to do it, it seems important to have it before, or sort of like during that, 1 to 2 month period where they're actually working on their budgets. So I think sometime in October or November, I think it's the right timing for it.
Actually, I fixed the date. The October 21st was the fiscal summit, not the 7th, that we were still working on it. And it was at 10 in the morning, and we prepared a lot of materials. And then it looks to me like we wanted the letters back, the budget proposals back by November 30th.
Right.
And that was
What?
bumping into not Halloween, what's that? Thanksgiving.
Yeah, November 26th this year.
Yeah.
And the
So how
sooner
about
Haley
the
gets
idea
it, the
that we
sooner.
do the letter first and then follow up with a fiscal summit?
Yeah. So I could see us doing this. Let's see. What if we plan to have the letter out, let's say October 5th, and then we do sorry, 1 second. We have August 31st in FinCom. We're going to meet again on the 14th. 28th.
On Monday, November 2nd? If we get
Yes.
it on the 5th, 1 week, 12, 19, 26.
Yeah, so that would be, if we did it November 2nd, that would be sort of the Monday in between our regular FinCom meetings. But again, there's, I think, a pretty good likelihood that that's going to actually happen during work hours, not
Yeah.
um,
We did it at 10 in the morning last time.
So maybe that's a good expectation, or a good timing for that right now. So Monday, November 2nd, fiscal summit 1. Okay. All right, and then budget letter out. What did I say? October 5th, something like that.
Well, as soon as we get it done, really. I
Yeah.
mean, we should be able to get it done before then if you're already talking about it. And I don't know how different it's going to be this year from.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking that it could be well, we'll get to that. There's time to draft it, but so maybe sort of we'll keep October 5th as like, no later than, but we may actually be able to be in a position to share that letter earlier. I don't think we have to spend time on drafting tonight, but I sent a version a draft that was kind of cool. In some ways, just building on what we did last year. And I would encourage folks to take a look at that and just think about any other sort of themes or points. It's a little bit more detailed than maybe it ought to be, but I figured it would be better to err on the side of being comprehensive at this point and then pare it down later. But whatever suggestions you have, bring them to the next meeting and we'll get that drafted.
And so in this schedule, we are still mulling over whether we have a separate meeting with the select board. And it would probably be maybe, we have this special town meeting in here that we don't know when the date is.
Right.
So that piece adds some work, even if it's not a lot. I bet it's in October. I think that was what they kind of went for.
Yeah. What about putting December 1st as a deadline for budget proposals? Does that seem too late, too early?
Well, we had our
Yeah.
first meeting November.
I don't think department heads need 2 months to put their
Yeah.
budgets together, and they
Yeah,
all
no.
know the request is coming, whether they get the letter or not. So,
Right.
to me, that just delays our schedule. And I wish Haley was here. I mean, Haley's the one who's going to have to process these things.
Yeah.
The sooner
What
we
about-
can start developing a budget, it was always the better.
What about Monday, November 23rd? Does that seem reasonable? Sort of before.
Let's do it why not do it at the letters are going out on October 5th, hopefully. Why
Yeah.
isn't it Halloween? Why not October
Well,
31st?
because I think I think we want to do the fiscal summit and have
Okay,
the sort of the kind of
okay. So
themes.
maybe
I think we want people
earlier.
sort of thinking about that. And also I think, this kind of the spirit of the summit is also
Yep.
to like give people some background and context that they can.
How about Friday the 13th, November 13th?
Sure.
So the summit is that gives them 2 weeks after the summit.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Budget proposal due. All right. We'll see when special town meeting is. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I think we can still plan on beginning our department meetings in December, but I think the fact that we've pushed everything earlier by a couple of weeks makes it more likely that that people are actually going to be able to kind of stick to that schedule.
The one we know is that the highway wants to get in for their meeting before it snows. So we would look towards closer to the end of November, but maybe due to climate change.
Well, every year is different. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
last year was a crazy year and they did miss meetings with us because of that.
Right.
I don't know if that's always going to happen. I would
Yeah,
just say
November 23rd would be an option. That's going to be our regular meeting night. So,
Well, actually, our regular meetings, isn't it first, second Mondays? That would
Why
be
do
the
I
6th
have,
and the 16th.
why do I have,
Second and the 16th.
why do I
First
have
and
it on my
third.
calendar? As, oh, you know what? We have this month of August where we have an extra Monday. I think.
Right.
But,
And we
June's
also
the
have
same
Labor
way.
Day. So-
June's the same way. I mean, I'm sorry, November's the same way. Where's my head at? November's the same way. It's the 2nd, 16th, 30th.
okay, so if we're doing the August 17th or 18th, since we're doing one day late, then August 31st. And then,
Not
and
the
that
7th
puts us,
because it's Labor Day.
yeah. Then we're going to the fourth, then we're switching it up actually. Then we're doing actually the 2nd and 4th. Because the 4th,
Yes.
Labor Day is the 7th. And it'll be 1 week after, our last meeting. So I think we're actually gonna end up doing the 2nd and 4th. Because of that extra Monday issue
I think that for me, it doesn't matter which Monday of the month it
Yeah.
is. So maybe we just roll with the punches unless it matters to somebody else. Maybe they have an obligation on the 2nd and
Yeah, I don't think I think those kinds of issues were Tuesday issues, as I recall, where people had specific obligations on certain Monday, certain
Yeah,
Tuesday.
we know it's not an issue for Haley because of the select board meeting on Tuesday. So I agree. It doesn't have to be in stone.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's kind of our rough.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is your
Okay.
special town meeting is probably out of order.
Yeah, it's probably going to be in
probably going to be in October.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably after the budget letter is submitted.
yeah.
Good.
Right. So this. All right, this will live on our FinCom drive as well. I'll put it
Okay.
there. Wrap up tonight.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
It
So
helps to know.
so take a look at the draft letter, bring ideas, suggestions to our next meeting.
You said you sent us the draft letter already?
Yeah, did I not? I meant to.
I got a
Maybe it's on
Rule 8
the
letter and a
drive.
PFAS. What?
Is it on the drive?
I don't think it's there yet, but I can put it there.
No.
Did I forget to send it to you guys? I thought I did.
I don't see it.
Okay.
Is that fiscal year 27?
It's fiscal
I
year
thought I sent some
28.
attachments that included
Yeah.
the last year's letter.
Yeah, that's what it was. We don't have this. Yeah, it was last year's letter we have.
Oh,
Right.
I
Oh,
didn't-
so which email is that?
all right. So hang on a second.
408.
The draft is there also. It said it's titled it doesn't have a subject. It was
Okay.
on August 14th.
Okay. Yeah.
August 14th. Thank you.
So
Okay.
August 14th. Yeah, I think it.
Oh, I see it. There
It
it
might
is.
have looked like it was basically a PDF version and a Word version of the same thing, but
Right.
actually, the Word version is the FY28, and it is different. I mean, it's built on the FY27, but
I see no subject August 14th. I don't see an attachment. Am I
August 14th, 1:50 p.m.
Yeah.
August 14th is not long ago.
9/11, I see. Oh, maybe I deleted it by mistake. All right, I'll look for it. If you all have it, then I have it.
Or just put it on the,
Yeah, I'm going to put it on the
Drive.
drive also.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll put two things. I'll put the schedule and that draft.
Yeah.
On the drive. Okay. All right. Can we take 15 minutes at least to just talk about the long range plan? Because I don't want to.
Sure.
I don't want
I did find the email, by the way.
Okay, good. All right. So. All right. So I asked everyone to spend some time with it and bring any questions or thoughts about assumptions. I have a list of things, but I don't know. We can do this in any order. You want me to start with just some things that I made note of, and then
You want me to pull up the schedule?
oh yeah. Let's see, share this. Now, question, George. Actually, should I have you share yours?
Yes.
That probably makes more sense.
Well, it's up to you. I did
Yeah,
make
no,
some
no,
minor
I think that
changes
makes
to it
sense.
since we met,
I think that makes
since
sense.
the last one I sent.
Yep. Okay.
Because you're not even in the schedule.
This one.
Great. Okay. So this is in no particular order, but I was wondering if we could get some feedback from the assessor potentially about our new growth assumptions that are
Yeah.
built into this.
So I sent him a request, and he
Okay.
actually asked for a copy of this. So I made a PDF for him, limited
Right.
PDF. Um, I dropped by town hall yesterday, but he wasn't there.
Okay.
I missed him. But I talked to Leslie. She's like, "Really? How?" And, it's been all over the place, and we saw what happened during COVID, where we had these huge spikes.
That's the thing is it's such a volatile number from one year to the next that I just want to, I was worried about whether we are potentially sort of underestimating, but I don't know. I mean, that's why.
I don't think we're underestimating because the rate we've got in here right now, 6.8%, that's pretty substantial, and it can't go up forever. I mean, who knows? Maybe it can.
Yeah.
The I'm gonna be in town hall tomorrow,
Okay.
and so I'm gonna drop by and talk to him again, and try and catch him. He will be there until I think it was about noon, and so I'll have time to talk to him.
Okay, great.
I'm not sure he can really help us too much. I think the best thing to do is look at the long range growth,
Yeah,
the real long range, like over 10 to 20 years,
yeah.
and know that some years were high, some years low, but we're doing an average.
Okay, so you just said something that I got confused about. You said something about a 6% or something. My
0.8.
That's what I'm sorry.
isn't new growth flat in this tool right now at $45,000 a year? Or no, I see. You bumped it $5,000 for fiscal year 28.
Here,
Yeah.
let me find it. Oops, what did I just do there? My cursor.
Yeah, I think he's.
Yeah, so I mean, I basically did leave it flat. I can tell you one of the things our assessor is doing is he's hitting the streets and he's looking at houses and he's catching up on permits. He's catching up on a lot. And I think FY28, our new growth numbers probably gonna be pretty good.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't tell you that that's going to be true every year thereafter, but I think we're going to do pretty well in FY28 because I do think he's doing a lot of work and he's doing catch up. We didn't have the capacity to do in the past.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're taking the important step I wanted us to take, which was to get his input. So that's good to know that he's.
So would we take look at a 10 to 20 year average and plug that in as a percent in this table instead of flat 45?
So on this table, we have the valuations from the DLS, and these are what's on the recap, and these are our valuations, and they've been growing.
10 years. Mhm.
They've
I
been
see. So
increasing
this
by
is
this
the-
amount. Let me
This
just,
is the average.
yeah. So that's been our average, and that's how I came with 682. But you got these anomalies here.
But
Yeah.
those are not new growth. That is changes in evaluation.
Well, new growth is valued. The reason we collect 45,000 in new value is because we add value, the assessed value of property goes up. So these do include new growth.
I thought when the assessed value went up, the tax rate went down.
Well, there's a lot of factors, but when the recap is done at the end of the year to calculate your tax bill, that valuation that the tax rate is calculated, right? You take the total amount you need to raise and you divide it into the value of everything in town, and you get a rate to tax everything in town. That rate includes in the valuation the new growth. And yes, the new growth is taken into account in the revenue side as well, the levy side, but you have to have the property value of all that new growth in the values of your tax rate calculation. So the new growth is in here.
Got it.
Does that make sense, Susie?
It does, but when we look at our assembling our picture of revenue, we separate out what I thought was actual new property, um, new property projects. So when you go to
Well,
that
remember,
table, isn't that what
when
that
you look
new
at
growth?
when you look at this section, let
Right,
me find it again. When you look at this section here, we're using it for the levy limit calculation. It's
right.
not necessarily being used for what the actual levy will be. It's just for calculating the levy limit. What the effect is on the tax rate actually happens down here in the valuation of the property,
I see.
right? Because we take the previous year's 2.5. Pay attention, Meredith and Frank. This is
Yep.
tomorrow's.
Yeah.
So, so we take the 2.5 and we take the levy limit and we move it to the next year. It's our starting point. We add 2.5%, right? This is 2.5%. Oops, sorry, I hit the wrong button. This is 2.5% of the tax levy limit. And then we add the new growth, and this is our new tax levy limit. Of course, then we add the debt exclusion. All right. But then when it comes to the actual budget, we're using a different number, right? We're using what we need to fund the budget. And when we take that levy and we divide it into the value of the properties to get a tax rate, the value of the new growth is in this number.
I see. Yeah.
All value of all property that's going to be taxed has to be in that number to calculate the tax rate. That includes the new property that we found, whether it's a new home or somebody added a shed. It's got to be in this valuation here.
Right. So
So
you just identified new growth as a new building project. But I thought what you were saying earlier is as the values of property go up, which we went through a huge jump, did that change our new growth number, or did it only change our total valuation that caused our tax rate to go down?
it's both because you have this value right at the end of fiscal. This is what we taxed. That's the value of all the property. That's the value of all the property that we taxed for the year. And then it went up by 51 million dollars. And that increase in $51 million was two factors. One was the valuation of all properties in town grew because of COVID and the demand for housing, and new property was added to it. So the question is, of the $51 million increase, how much of it was values for increases for existing projects and how much product properties, and how much of it is added value for new properties that were never previously taxed?
Right.
It's both.
It's both. But what's clear from the budget tool when you open up the previous fiscal years is that it's a highly volatile number. Like it's
Yeah, look at these numbers.
it ranges from right. Those are certainly the percentage increases in terms of the assessments are, but the amount of new growth that we observe every year, it's 73,000 in FY20, then it's 93,000 in FY21, then it's 19,000 in FY22, then 56,000, then 68. It's like all over the place. And I guess I just want to make sure that this, whatever assumptions that we build into this for FY28 and beyond are, our defense are the best available kind of guesses. And so, as long as the assessor's going to be weighing in on it, it makes me feel.
But separately considering how much new building is going on now, we also know there's not a lot of lots left in town. So I would think that we can know of all of the changes that are happening here, the actual new buildings have slowed. People might be putting a few renovations on, but in this economy, we wouldn't be seeing new building as much as we might have seen in another time. And I guess if we can't separate them here, but I thought when you had in the revenue table new growth, you were actually referring to building projects that were going on in town. And I would say that's not increasing. I could see why you might put it down as a flat number.
Yeah, to be conservative. But again, right. The effect on that is in this value here that calculates the tax rate, and then we multiply it times the value of the properties to come up with our average tax bill.
Yeah, it doesn't actually affect the levy, right? It affects the tax
Tax
rate.
rate. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out if
Yeah.
we're going to do a projection, I would say we can project less new building as in this economy and as the lots are disappearing. And so where on this table would we show that
Well,
in
The
our
other-
tool?
we show it
thing
in
I-
the new growth line, right? And the fact that it's flat. Sorry, Frank, were you going to say
I'm
something?
sorry, people around the lake that buy houses don't care what the economy is doing right now, and they tear them down and put new ones up, and that's why we had $1 million, an old building torn down on North Laurel and $1 million building permit pulled.
Mhm.
And across the lake, there was the same thing, a $600,000 sale and another $500,000 building permit. So the flatness around the lake, there's still houses being sold, and we don't know what's going on with them.
Right. And that happens to be a piece of our economy is the lake, and we need to keep understanding that. And it
Yes.
has a different environment in the
Mhm.
building, but I would say in the general town, we're probably not going to see much more new growth, which I thought was that line called new growth.
Okay.
Yeah, I think these two numbers are anomalies, and they are definitely pushing this up. I think 6.82 is probably too much. Beyond that, I don't know what to say. I mean, maybe we should just. I'll talk to the.
I think we get a number from the assessor and go with that. That would be-
Yeah, if I can get him to give us one,
yeah, exactly.
he may not.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is it was interesting to me that the average single family home over the same period over a period of time was 3.6%. And I didn't use these years because this was a year that we used cash in the to fund the budget.
I see.
And that doesn't affect the value of the properties, but it certainly affected the average single tax bill.
Right.
So I just use these years to get the average. But I think what we really should do is I think this average single family tax number with the value should grow at the same rate as the value of the increases for property.
That makes sense.
So I think that's one thing. Once we figure this line out, we can apply the same rate here.
Replicate that rate of increase.
Yeah. So we can, if I can talk to him tomorrow, and if he's unwilling to give me a number, well, we'll talk about it in 2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
Ask them to whisper it in your ear so no one hears.
And not you didn't hear from me.
Right.
I'll tell him that.
And I'm looking at the clock and I want to do the hard stop at 8:30. So I'm thinking I have a few other ideas. I'm sure everybody else does. Maybe we should write them in to you, AJ.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. So I've got a list of stuff. So I can, if folks want to actually email them to me, and then I'll have a master list that I share with George. Well, actually I'll share it with the whole committee so everybody can see it.
Just we don't comment on it, that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. And again, I think if it makes sense to you all, I think we should think of the fiscal summit as potentially, and I'm not suggesting that we necessarily have to show the tool at it, but I think it's kind of the first opportunity for us to actually communicate some information that at least comes from the tool
Yep.
at that point. So if that makes sense to folks, like we can work backwards from that in terms of thinking about when we want to have this thing in shape that we're comfortable with.
So is our next meeting on the 31st?
31st.
Back to Monday, okay.
Yep. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
So we got an extra meeting in August because of the 5 Mondays.
And right away, you can put continue work on
Yeah.
the letter.
Yeah,
Budget
we're gonna
letter.
continue working on the letter. We're gonna continue working on the tool. I'm sure there'll be some special town meeting updates.
And I guess I want to hear about the possible pathways for the school project, balancing all the pieces.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it already done.
All right, sounds good. All right, so I will, is there anything else urgent that needs to be shared before we wrap up tonight? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:30 on the dot. Look at that.
I'll second that. Very nice eye.
Cashew eye.
Again, I.
Mosher, aye.
Pastella.
So do I.
Thank you, everyone.
Right.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Later.
Bye.